Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to the southern wing of the Stink Bug Works. In front of you today is not a whole lot of stuff, but there's stuff of interest. The first thing of interest is two charged up 2S 5 amp hour batteries. You know what these are for? The systems. They are charged up and ready to install in the boat. It's early Friday morning. I have one septic layout drawing that I need to do revisions on, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to play hooky. I am going to take these two charged up 5 amp hour batteries, and I'm going to put them in the systems, and I'm going to go to the pond and run the systems. Hopefully. I'll put them in, do a test run, spool up. I got to grease the cable and install the batteries, and that's it. So hopefully we're going to run the systems today. Tools. People ask me to talk about tools. These are some cool tools. Let me tell you, dentists have really cool tools. And what I do is I go through eBay, and sometimes you can find where people are just giving these things away because they're no longer suitable for use by dentists, either because they're worn or aged or some sort of medical rule, and so they just ditch these things. So here's a couple of little tools I really like. Now get a load of this one. This one has a little tiny file, and it cuts on a pull stroke. So when you have a little blob of carbon fiber sticking up there and you can't really get in and sand it, you can get in with this little pull file and break it loose. And it has a bigger one here, and it's the same thing, but it's a cool little tool, and every once in a while you need something like this, and when you have it you go, oh, problem solved. Here's another little cool dental tool. This is a scalpel. Now, it's been dulled and sharpened I don't know how many times, but it's sharp enough for getting in there, and like when you got to cut a cooling hose or something like that and you got to get in there. Cool tool. I like these little spatulas for spreading epoxy and scraping off things and mixing JB Weld. These are really good for mixing JB Weld. These little hook things, they're good for getting in and hooking onto something, And there's all kinds of different shapes of these things. They're all over the spectrum. Here's another one I like. This one's like a little scraper. It's like a little chisel end. And again, you can get in there and scrape. If you're prepping an area to glue something down, you can get in there, scrape, or you can get in there and file. Lastly, this little guy, check this out. This is a perfect little hook for hooking something, like a wire or whatever. And again, this little spatula, so don't buy the expensive ones. Wait till the used ones are cheap, when you can get this piece for $1 or $2 each. That's a screaming deal. You can't get the Chinese ones for $1 or $2 each. And then lastly, this thing. It's some kind of little weird punch, but it has an adjustable wheel, and you can go from a real small little punch to a big punch. And for if you're marking a hole to drill, you can, there's an example. I don't want to mess something up, but you can mark where your hole is going to be with this, and then come back later and drill it. So it's a cool little tool. I saw this. It was like $5, and I said, yeah, I'll give you $5 for that thing. So there you go. Some tools, and hopefully this video will continue with running the systems. Until then, jet out. Okay, boys and girls, this is what everybody's been waiting for. Maiden run of the systems. I'm going to be real cautious because I haven't taped the hatch down, and I'm not really set up for heavy-duty rescues. So we will set this in the water without doing too much harm. And look at that, it floats. This is a prepped Octura 637, a 4068 2000 kV on 4S. That's about half throttle, and I think the CG needs to come back. That was a quick, wide open burst. This is really under-propped. And that's about as fast as I want this thing to go. It corners real nice, but I'm not going to be doing wide open turns for a while with this. The CG definitely needs to move forward though. It's kind of light in the bow. And even with this small prop, it tends to want to walk a bit. Sorry for all the trees in the way, but this is kind of where the shade is. That's just about the right prop for that thing. Anything more and it'd get kind of squirrely in the handling. That's almost a little bit too much torque. I can see it wanting to prop walk just a shade. Now this is a bench tune. I'm not going to fool with tuning today at all. We're just kind of acquainting it with the water. But it drives real nice. And I like the way it kind of leans into the turn at speed. See that? It's probably got a ton of runtime left on it. And as the batteries sag, it's not quite so light in the bow. But the handling on it is really nice. I need to check water cooling coming out the jet out. Okay, boys and girls, post-mortem here. 88, 97, 97, 108, 93, 81. That's a good setup. Nothing warm. 108, the wires, 117, the connectors here, 113. Everything's 115 and lower. I would pronounce this a success. Let me go wipe it down and unplug it. We'll get to the next project. Until then, jet out. Okay, boys and girls, we're back. I think on this guy, the systems, I can stop that hopping a little bit by putting a bit of down angle. I looked at the batteries and I don't have a whole lot of room to slide them forward for CG. So I can change my thrust angle and reduce that. Today, next, we're gonna run the Firefly. Last time out, I had too big of a prop on it and runtime sucked. So now I've got a little tiny prop on it. And let's see if it's not quite so squirrely. The big prop made it somewhat hard to handle. Boy, turn on a dime and give you 9 cents change. Even that little prop might be too much for it. That's like a 24 millimeter prop. Maybe the CG needs to come forward a bit. See how it wants to lift that right trailing edge? It wants to torque over. Whoop! Come on up! Come on up! There you go. And the self-righting works. Not real fast, not like the ladybug, but it works. God, this thing just turns like you can't believe. And you can accelerate out of a turn. It's like driving a freaking Porsche, where as long as you could enter the turn, you could accelerate out of it. I gotta be careful I don't hit something like me. Hey, watch this. As the battery sags, it becomes a little more controllable. Fresh batteries, and it's a handful. Come on. Come on. Let's bring it back in. Okay, boys and girls, jet out.